Welcome to Rising Stars, where Miriam Knight, publisher of New Consciousness Review, interviews exciting new voices in the world of progressive and transformational books, films, and ideas, who offer intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us as we celebrate the conscious awakening and explore many expressions of consciousness in action.
And our guest today is Adrienne. Jean is an author, radio show host, world traveler, and entrepreneur, and soon-to-be television show host. She's the developer of a coaching and therapy process called Inner Speak, and her books include Power Tools, Reframe Your World, Conscious Living in the New Reality, and Soul Adventures. Today, we are going to discuss her new book, Realities of Creation, of which she is the lead author. Welcome, Jean.
Well, thank you, Miriam. I am so happy to be with you today.
And I am so happy to have you. I know we're going to have fun because we always do.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, your book, Realities of Creation, has 9 essays from different authors writing about different aspects of the human experience and how our realities get created. I understand that you brought these gals together for a conference. What was the inspiration to do so?
Well, it was just one of those little glimmers in my eye, I guess. I had no earthly idea that it would end up being a book, but it occurred to me that my passion is conscious creation, and I knew a bunch of other women who were also passionate about conscious creation. And so I thought, well, let's just come together and we'll do a telesummit, and each of you can share from your particular viewpoint and your area of expertise with the listeners. And we're going to make this thing perfectly free for everyone who wants to listen in. And each of you also has to give away a free gift, to urge people to listen. And that's how it started 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it was such a success, the first webinar that we did a second one the following February. And out of that one, I thought, wow, there's a bunch of great material here. How about each of you writes a chapter, and let's just make a book out of it. And you know what? We'll just e-publish it on Amazon. It won't cost us anything. It will be no big deal, right? Mm-hmm. And we did. And I don't know if it's the power of 9, or just that many people working together with a common idea and a common goal. But lo and behold, our book, rather than being e-published on Amazon, was actually picked up by a fairly prominent mainstream literary publisher. And here it is. The book was released this past Saturday, May the 1st.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Godspeed to the book. Mercury speed.
Mercury speed. Yes, ma'am. Because, really, we had no earthly idea consciously, even though it was all about conscious creation, that this would end up actually being published.
Mm-hmm. Who published it in the end?
It's Rainbow Ridge, which
they're in Charlottesville. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And he just published Neil Donald Walsh's latest book, mm-hmm. And Lynn Andrews' latest book. So I think we're in some pretty high-powered company.
Bob Friedman is a great publisher. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a super job on this book.
Great. Now, your topic in the book has all to do with using DNA to create. This was really kind of a revelation for me. How did you come to realize that DNA was actually able to be affected by our thoughts and help us with conscious creation?
Well, one day in meditation, I was guided that, to look at the structure of the universe. And this is a holographic universe. Even back in the ancient Emerald Tablets day, Thoth said, as above, so below. So because it's a holographic universe, then everything is a reflection of the larger component. So if I have a soul, then it stands to reason that every aspect of me, i.e. all my cells, my organs and glands, have a soul as well. And then they probably, each one has their own purpose for being. And if you look at the example of the organs and glands within the body. Each of your organs and glands, they help you to stay alive, but they've got their own purpose for being. And so, that just sort of reinforces this idea of the holographic universe. So I took it a step further and I thought, well, if I have a soul, then every cell of my body must have a soul. And then within the cell, the DNA, well, that must have a soul as well. And so I started by doing conscious work with the cells of my body. And I would go into meditation and I would ask the cells of my body to, when they replicated, to replicate back to their own divine blueprint. And I was first working with the skin because that's the largest organ of the body, and also the place where I could see the results the fastest. Mm-hmm. And so I asked the cells of my skin to reproduce every time they reproduce, free from blemishes and wrinkles and, outward signs of aging and that kind of thing. And I began to see results within a month. My skin was looking better. My wrinkles were going away. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm onto something here. And so, I worked at a deeper level, and then, I am a channel. And so at one point, I was channeling and I received information about DNA, and I was told that our DNA is multidimensional as well. Again, it's that holographic universe thing, and that at one point we actually, as humans in our species, had access to 144 strands of DNA and not just 2. And so my guides,
pretty big difference.
Yeah, my guides charged me at that point with creating drawings that would hold the energy of latent strands of DNA so that anyone who wanted to could use their attention and intention to locate and activate these latent strands of DNA. And from that, I created a deck of cards that, they're the Reconnecting Soul deck of cards, and they've been available on Amazon. They sell pretty well out there. So, that's pretty good. And I think it's worked with a lot of different people to assist them in growing their consciousness and being more responsible in creating what they want in their lives. So that's what tapped me into the aspect of DNA being more than what we thought it was. And again, I started working with it with my conscious intention of asking my DNA, in fact, all the layers of DNA and all the dimensions where I express myself, to align with me in creating the things I desired. And then voila, things started happening in my reality much faster, much more positively. And I was getting more of the things that I desired and less of the things that I didn't want.
So how intensive a practice is this? Is this something that you do every day? How do you actually do it?
I don't do it every day.
How do you have a conversation with your DNA?
You do it with your attention and your intention. And it's just as simple as stating the words, Miriam. I think that for too many years, we thought that spiritual practices had to be really complex and had to involve a lot of ceremony, and bending over 3 times, turning around, touching your toes, touching the tip of your nose, and then repeating after me lots and lots of blah, blah, blah. And what I find is that it's much more effective if you just state what you want and state it clearly. And and ask that something or somebody or whatever your target is pays attention to you and aligns with you. And so an example might be, what's something that you'd like to create in your life?
Abundance.
All right. So then just ask. And you can do this in your head or you can do it out loud. I find that it's much more effective if I do it out loud. Sometimes I even sing my requests to, get higher energy and frequency involved in it, but just ask and intend that all of the layers of DNA in every dimension where you express yourself align with you in manifesting abundance in your life. And then more specifically, what kind of abundance do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want abundant love? Do you want abundant money? Do you want abundant joy? So tell your DNA what you want and get really specific about it.
I've got two questions competing for coming out. Okay. One is, how do emotions affect the sort of impetus of our request?
Well, emotion is the fuel for conscious creation. It's almost like the gasoline you put in your car and that keeps the car running. So the more excited you are, the more energy that you put behind your requests, the more likely you are to actually get it. And how I discovered that is kind of I backed into it. Have you ever noticed that the things that you think during a time of traumatic experience or drama in your life are the things that seem to actually manifest? So, intense emotion, whether it's negative or positive,
Absolutely.
is a very strong fuel.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of times if you're really angry and you're yelling and screaming about all the stuff you don't want in your life, then lo and behold, you end up manifesting more of that same stuff.
Yeah.
So the other side of that then is to get really happy and filled with joy and use that energy. And a really good way to do that is to just kind of get still and quiet and think about a time when you were really, really happy, filled with joy, a mountaintop experience, and tap into the energy of that.
Mm-hmm.
And let that big smile, just come across your face from whatever that was.
The ear-to-ear grin. Well, we'll have to continue this after the break.
Okay.
We're speaking with Jean Adrienne about
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness in action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
Want to be a better communicator? Do you want to better connect with the important people in your life? Do you want to enrich your relationships? If so, join me, Matthew Cooper, on the Positive Control System Show every Wednesday evening at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on OMTimes Radio. I'll meet you there.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Normally we hear our rejoinder music at this point, so I'm going to assume that we are in fact recording. I'm your host, Miriam Knight, and we're speaking with Jean Adrienne about her book, The Realities of Creation. Jean, just before we go on, what is your website?
My website is jeanadrienne.com. That's JeanAdrienne.com. And I also have another website for the book and for the telesummit that is realitysofcreation.com.
Very good. Very good. So, Jean, before the break, we were talking about using emotion to actually get through our message to the DNA. Now, what I was going to ask is what is the difference between the soul and DNA?
Well, the soul is that everlasting aspect of each of us that is a unique reflection of source.
Mm-hmm.
And the DNA is a component of both the physical and the etheric aspect of the soul. You know, we're not our bodies. I think that we all, by this point in our life, understand that. You know, for many, many years, I think we all very heavily identified with our physical vessels. But now we realize that, you know, the soul's different. But the body is the physical component, and so there's physical DNA within each cell of the body. But there's
Sort of
also,
like a radio receiver.
yeah, exactly. But there's also etheric DNA that is in our etheric bodies, our emotional body, our mental body, and our spiritual body here in this dimension. But we also have etheric DNA in every dimension where we express ourselves. And we are multidimensional beings. I'm not sure how many dimensions we exist in. It probably is a finite number, and the number that seems to come up more often than not within sacred geometry is 144. So just, you know, for grins and giggles, let's say that we have 144 aspects of us in existence. But we're all part of some sort of unique place in the divine mind, in the universal component that is the expression of all that is. And, you know, each of us has that responsibility for modeling whatever it is that is our unique essence to the rest of reality.
When you talk about 144 sort of possible dimensions, you also mention that as the number of original DNA strands. And you had the most original perception of how we went down from 144 to 2 with our generosity in interbreeding with an alien race, a star race. I think we won't go into that, but leave that as a little intriguing tidbit for our readers to impel them to get the book.
Yeah, the story's there.
Now, if the DNA is our connection to the universal mind, what is the way that we evolve? Who orchestrates it? I mean, why did we lose the connection in the first place? I know in one of the chapters, Maureen talks about, I think it's Maureen. You have so many good authors in there. They talk about our intentionally blocking out our connection to the universal mind so that we could sort of settle into our physical manifestation. And then we have to turn around and try and reestablish that connection again. I mean, it seems a little almost like busy make work. So what is the point of forgetting it in the first place? What have we gained by blocking that out, and what will we gain by regaining that connection?
Okay. again, this is gospel according to Gene, take what you want and leave the rest. But, when we are in spirit, when we are, inside that connection, then all there really is love. I mean, it's just, and again, that's what I think. But we differentiate out into expressions and dimensions. We come into incarnation. We take on, in the earthly plane, we take on these bodies, and we come here, and quite frankly, all the soul really wants is more information. I truly believe that our souls are trying to add to all of the information that is contained within the divine mind. That we're out exploring the universes and trying to gather more information.
Mm-hmm.
And we bring it in. We store it in our DNA. We transmit it into the divine mind. We give more access to other souls, through that. And we're just little information gathering vehicles.
Well, no, there's another dimension. We're creator beings, and if we already had the universal perspective, we probably would be complacent.
Exactly, and that's why I think we block it out until we don't need to block it out anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe that's called ascension. Maybe that's just an awakening. But when we do get to this place where we are much more standing in our power, we understand our truth, we've got a better grasp on why we might possibly be here, that kind of thing, then we actually begin to open up more and more to that connection.
Right.
We've got a lot more access at that point.
In your perspective, do you believe that there is a major awakening of consciousness happening at this time?
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure that everybody who is alive on this planet today, coughed up all of their big bucks and said, put me in coach and here's my payment because I really want to be here right now. Because I believe that this is the time that we signed up for, at that point where souls were first differentiated, where spirit decided it wanted to understand more about itself and said, okay, well, let me just make a whole army of myself to go out and see what I really am.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I don't know who I am unless you show that to me.
You reflect that back to me.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I think, that's probably how it all got started, but heck, who knows? But I know that we're absolutely creators in this game, or co-creators, depending on what your perspective is. And that we're exploring and expanding our consciousness. And as we do that, because we are all one, everybody's doing it. And, throw into that mix the fact that we've just got some amazing energy that's coming onto the planet. We're passing through the photon belt, and we've got these amazing eruptions from our sun, that are casting light on planet Earth, raising the vibration of the planet higher than it's been in our consciousness than our history, and so wonderful things are happening.
I wonder if what is happening on the political and social scene, all the turmoil around the world, what is the part that's playing in all of this? Is it reaction? Is it the sort of death grip of the old order?
I think that's part of it. I definitely think that's part of it because, part of the ego aspect of the human species is that it doesn't like change, and so if you ever watched a small child, little children don't like change. They don't want you messing with their toys. And when you try to change things with a little child, if you do it abruptly, they push back. And so if you look at the powers that have been, the oligarchy, if you will, or whatever you want to call it, they're seeing threat to what they have believed to be, their power and their right.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't like that. And so they push back, just like a little child. So things are shifting, and I think they're shifting for the better. But it's going to take a while for everybody to get used to the fact that the rules are changing.
One of the aspects of the book that I found most intriguing is the repeating theme of the power of one's choice. And that has a couple of aspects, because one is to actually convince yourself that you do have the power to change things. One of the kind of dynamic tensions that we see playing out is, as we mentioned earlier, the old order versus the young optimists and activists. And people are resisting change out of fear because they don't know what will come. But change is just such an integral part of the human condition.
Well, it is. It is. And, I think we started talking, and I don't remember exactly when, but let's just say 10 or 15 years ago, about the role of the new kids today, the indigo children. I think maybe Lee Carroll and Jan Tober were some of the first to predict that there was a new species coming onto this planet, and it was going to turn things upside down. And then I think Doreen Virtue, she wrote a book about it as well. And so that was the big conversation for a long time, was about the indigo kids and why are they here? And they're here to shake things up. Well, I think we're actually beginning to see absolute manifestation of that now, because the 20-somethings are really wanting everything to be...
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness in action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
realities of creation. Now, Jean, before the break, we were talking about the impact of the millennials at this time. How do we give them the best support that we can to nurture them, to let them drive the changes that we need?
I think that by providing them with the information that they need is the biggest thing we can do for them. Nobody really gave me a playbook when I was coming up, 60 plus years ago. And had I had a clearer understanding of how reality really works outside the the traditional Judeo-Christian spiritual stuff that was handed out back in those days, I might have gotten to where I've gotten to now much quicker. But then again, maybe not. And I believe that everything happens when it's supposed to and always in perfect order. However, by supporting these kids with as much information about what reality really is, we give them the clues to help them with their conscious creations. And I think that's probably one of the best things we can do for them.
That's a great comment. I really believe you're spot on there. Now, several of the chapters talk about one's life or soul purpose. Do you think this is set in stone or set in the stars, or is it still malleable?
I believe it's almost kind of like the old Chinese menu story, one from column A and two from column B kind of thing. I mean, I think that before we incarnate, we do decide what sort of life lesson that we want to learn in that incarnation. And it's usually not the stuff of what we want to do, but more so what aspect of reality we'd like to master, which is more about being. We are human beings after all. So it's not so much, I don't think, that, we incarnate with the thought, well, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a healing modality and write a bunch of books. Rather, I think that my sole purpose for me was to come in here and understand the definition of soul. How does one know where one begins and another one ends? How does one learn about boundaries? I think that was maybe a lot of my sole purpose. And then as I work through that, then a lot of the things that are in alignment with my truth, I'm able to then also do. That's the column B stuff. So yeah, once I got in alignment with who I really was, where do I start, where do others stop, then I was able to begin to open a channel and to receive a healing modality and to start working with other people. And I couldn't have worked with other people when I was living, in a codependent way. And I had to get through that so that I, knew what were my responsibilities and what were other people's responsibilities, and that I couldn't take responsibility for the healing and the growth of my clients. They had to do that for themselves, because I wouldn't have been a very good therapist, would I? So that's why I think that, it's a moving target and it does evolve, but there probably is one or two, there's probably is one thread that runs through all of it. And there might also be another common thread that runs through each person's soul purpose path. But we do a lot of things as we get more comfortable being who we are as far as mastery is concerned.
On the idea of a soul purpose path. Oh my goodness, there's a doggy.
Sorry.
it's a bit like, sometimes you feel that your life is like a drunkard's walk, that you have a general destination and then you make so many zigs and zags. But when you look back on your life, you are then able to see in retrospect how each of the elements in your life kind of got you that bit closer to the point of culmination, the point of really self-actualization.
Yeah, and that I think that's one of the reasons why so many of us write our memoirs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
To
when
connect the dots, really.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of times, until you really sit down and look at how far you've come and what you've done, you don't really, most of the time you're just existing. You're moving, putting one foot in front of the other, and you don't really take the time to understand exactly what the impact of your being has been.
That is one annoyed little puppy.
Oh, there's a UPS man who's making a delivery to me. Yeah. So I really apologize for that. That was just an unforeseen circumstance.
I hope you don't have to apologize to the UPS man.
Well, the dog's inside and he's outside.
So, what are some of the practices that are suggested in the book, particularly for connecting with your higher self? What have you found the best way in your practice to do so?
Well, first I want to say that, that's one of the beauties of having 9 different authors to share their points of view, because each one of them gives the reader a different way to look, at connection. And so, you read the book and you come away with 9 different ideas. And then from that, you might choose to use 1 or 2 or combine and come up with your own. So to me, that's really a beautiful gift that came out of this book. For me, it's quiet. And I know you might find that hard to believe since I have such a noisy dog. But I live on top of a mountain, and I can choose to not be involved with other people, except for the occasional UPS driver. And in the quiet, I can ask my questions of the universe, and then I write. And that's how I've managed to crank out 4 books and 2 decks of cards as well, is because I love to write. But that's how I receive my best information, is by getting quiet and writing what I'm hearing inside my head and inside my heart. But, each of the other authors do it differently. One of them receives some of her best information in her dreams. She's a dream expert. And she's gotten really good in her lifetime of waking up, journaling her dreams, and then looking at the information that came through to her in the dream state. Mm-hmm. Another one is really good at tapping into her heart center and listening to what her heart is trying to tell her versus what her mind might be saying.
Right.
And yet another one is an animal communicator, and she's lived with wolves, and she gets her best information from the wolves, but also from lots of other nature spirits in that. But she's very, very adept in listening to the, I don't exactly know how she describes it, but it's the oversoul of the wolf on planet Earth. And they all talk to her, so those are just a few.
The book is almost a representation of that parable of the blind men and the elephant, where each one is feeling into the body of the elephant, in this case, the nature of reality and creation, and intuiting from their breadth of perspective what it feels like, how you interact with it. and it is valid for anyone accessing reality through that particular niche or crack.
Absolutely. And the thing that I think is so important, Miriam, is that each of us must do this. For anybody to give away their power to somebody else to say that their way is the right way, is exactly that. It's giving up your power. And, I really think that what is so important for each of us to do, really incumbent upon each of us to do in the now space, is to find our truth by ourselves, not because some guru told me this, or I read it in a book, or I took this self-help class, or whatever, but that I actually took the time to figure out who I am, what I am, what's important to me, and based on that, this is how I want to live going forward, and this is how I want to create.
That is so important and very closely allied to finding your passion. Mm-hmm. When you know who you are, then you have a much better ability to find out what you are comfortable or passionate about creating and bringing into the world.
Absolutely. And you know what? When you find that, there's an awful lot of power behind that. And the universe supports you in doing whatever that passion is. And that's really when people are able to step into prosperity, wealth, and abundance, because the universe is so supportive of the person who has done their homework and has actually gotten in alignment with their passion, and then, wow, it's just almost like everything seems to line up for them. And these are the people who are successful, and everybody looks at them and goes, wow, I wonder how come that person is so successful and here I am over here struggling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, getting in the flow. Mm-hmm. So that's a powerful combination, finding your truth and finding your passion. And then really you're pretty much unstoppable.
Right.
Well, except that we are stoppable because it's time for our final break. We're speaking with Jean Adrienne about the realities of creation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
I'm Miriam Knight speaking with Jean Adrienne about the realities of creation. the new book just out from Rainbow Ridge. Jean, one of the things you mentioned earlier, and I made a note about these interesting glyphs that you had in your chapter. Were these taken from your cards?
Yes, they were. I felt that it was time to share some of the more common ones that people really needed to be conscious of, the aspects of their DNA and the aspects of their expanded consciousness that they could tap into today to really assist them on their path.
So how do they work? They embody, I assume, some form of sacred geometry?
Actually, probably not.
Oh.
They're all different. Some of them look like Arabic writing. Some of them look like Mayan stuff. Some of them look like old Gothic English. Some of them are just squiggles. So I don't necessarily know that it's sacred geometry. However, they do embody frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just basically what my guidance told me when I received this information. Being the hard-headed woman that I am, when I was told that I needed to draw 142 glyphs, I said, wait a minute, I don't draw. And they go, well, we just happen to know you happen to have 2 packs of colored pencils you've never opened and a drawing pad you've never used. So if you want to, you can get busy and we'll show you how to do this. And how they work is that you use, again, your intention and your attention, and you place your attention on the picture, the glyph, and you ask and intend that that aspect of consciousness and that latent strand of DNA be activated within you. And that's really all there is to it.
And so you have some glyphs that are for consciousness, for creation. What are some of the glyphs attached to?
Well, they're really all attached to consciousness and creation, but they're just different aspects of our emotions that we can use, of our abilities that we can tap into. They're all different.
To consciously create. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, being the amazing entrepreneur you are, and these glyphs are really so attractive, I'm just expecting a line of jewelry to come forth from you, embodying them.
I actually sent a deck of the cards to a jeweler in Kansas City, and I suggested to him that, he might want to partner with me. I haven't heard back from him yet, but who knows? It could happen.
Well, it is now doubly out in the universe.
Exactly. Because, there's it's not really a glyph. It's sort of my logo that I received in Channel many, many years ago. It's a circle with an angle. It's actually a 33-degree angle that's laying across it, and then a spiral emanating out from the apex of the angle. And I did actually have that cast in silver by a silversmith, and I wear it. I've got it around my neck right now. I wear it 24/7, and every time someone graduates from my Inner Speak practitioner training, they receive this medallion as their graduation present, and then they can choose to wear it or not. Which takes us kind of back to choice.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that we can do in our life that can support us in living better, bigger, happier lives. But we do have to actually choose to do it.
Getting past our inertia is probably our biggest challenge.
Oh, yeah. Well, one of the universal laws that, has been out on the internet like forever says that energy must follow intention in order for manifestation to occur.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what that's talking about is choice. You have to make a choice to take the first step. You've got to make a choice to buy the book and read it to open you up to more information that might support you on your path. We had to make a choice to write our chapters in order for the book to be created. And it just kind of goes backwards and forwards from that.
Mm-hmm. And you spoke forcefully about attention and intention.
Mm-hmm.
So there must be another element, which is the energy that you put behind it.
Yeah. And when you use your attention and your intention, you are actually creating, whether you put any energy behind it or not. Something is happening in some reality, in some dimension. Now, the faster you see it in front of you in the physical plane, then that really is, exacerbated by the amount of energy you put out there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I suggested, sometimes it's good to sing the things that you want to do, because that's a whole different level of vibration. But absolutely, I write things down. I think them first, then I write them down, then I read them out loud, and I read them almost as if I were on a Broadway stage. I read them with gusto. And then sometimes I sing them. It's about putting as much of that energy in there as you can muster, but also it's about feeling as well of how will I feel once I realize that I already have whatever this is that I'm wanting to create in my life. Because, if you get really specific with spirit about the things that you want to have, then you almost put spirit in a box and say that this and only this amount of it. Example of that is I've got a client that I've been working with for a while, and she's really doing some incredible creation. She is a medical doctor, and she's created an incredible practice that's thriving. And now she's ready to go to the next level. She wants to bring into her practice alternative medicine, integrative alternative medicine, I think is what the certification is called, that she's about to receive from a very well-renowned university here in the United States. And in order to be able to more fully do what she wants to do, she wants to either sell her thriving practice or bring in an overarching managing entity, for example, a hospital, that will come in and run the practice, that will enable her to have more time to do this alternative and integrative work that she's becoming passionate about. And she's probably had 4 contracts that have fallen through over the last year. And so we started working on why would that be? And it was semantics. What was blocking her was her body. Because our body has a soul just like we do, and her body wanted financial stability. My client wanted financial freedom. And
so we
both both of them sort of sound like the same thing, right? However, financial stability to her body meant, let's don't let this practice sell because we've got a thriving practice that's bringing in good money every day. Let's keep everything the way it is. Whereas to my client, her soul wanted the financial freedom to be able to do more than just that, dealing with medical insurance and filling out forms and doing charts every evening and all that kind of stuff, but to actually get into more alternative sorts of care. And once she and her body were able to get on the same page and realize that it was just a semantic difference, that they both really did want the same thing, then I wouldn't be surprised. This actually just happened last week. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't hear from her in the next week or so saying that she's, closed on the sale of her practice, or that a major hospital has come in and is going to do the running of the practice so that she can do what she wants to do.
I wonder how many of our little problems in life are actually due to a difference of opinion between our soul's purpose and our own personal fears.
I would reckon that a goodly majority of them are. you know? And so it's really then important to do the homework to figure out what's blocking you.
Exactly.
And then clear it up. And sometimes it's as easy as like rewriting that sentence.
And getting clear about what it is that you truly want at the deepest level.
Mm-hmm.
This book has a lot of wonderful how-to tips, and I really recommend it to our listeners. It's, again, called The Realities of Creation, and we have been speaking with the lovely Jean Adrienne. And Jean, remind us of which website you prefer people to go to.
Well, for me, it's geneadrienne.com. And for the book, Realities of Creation, we're doing a webinar that's absolutely free. You can hear all 9 authors, and they're giving you free gifts. And it's all recorded. So you've missed a couple of them at this point, but you haven't missed anything because you can listen to the replays and get your gifts and tap into to the information that they have that's above and beyond what's in the book. The book's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and your local bookstore. And I have a special gift for your listeners. I do a heart-centered support group every Tuesday night. And if your listeners go and purchase the book and on Amazon, and then go back to Amazon and write a review once they've read it, and if they will contact me off of my website and send me the link to their review, I will gift them with a free month of the Heart-Centered Support Group.
How lovely. Jean, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
And thank you, listeners. I'm Miriam Knight. For New Consciousness Review, do visit our website at ncreview.com. Be well, be happy, be many blessings.